throw that back.
Yeah, throw that ass back like a quarterback. Gotta grab it on her chest like a heart.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tapping into the Be Influential podcast, where we dare you to be different. I'm your host, Angie Legg, and this is episode 1. Okay, yes, this is a huge dream of mine. I've been working on creating a podcast for about 2 years, and sometimes when it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. But now it feels perfect, and I'm here to take all of you to the next level in influence and personal branding, and I'm going to help you guys get online, get noticed, and get out there. So today, I want to start with something, like I mentioned, this is a huge dream of mine. I'm doing a lot of big things in my life, and it's been really hard. Being an entrepreneur, doing things on your own is really, really difficult. And sometimes you ask yourself, are you even making a difference in this world? And last night I had a very close friend message me the nicest thing. And, you know, after coming out of COVID, where everybody had to pivot, everybody had to do something different, this really, really hit my heart. So hopefully I don't shed a tear, because this is really, really touching. So give me a moment here from my friend Michelle. So I just wanted to thank you. I don't know if you really realize the impact you have on people, but it's like life-changing. And I feel like I saw how you took something you were so passionate about and just put it out there, and now you just seem so happy. Well, it made me look at the things I'm really passionate about and how I need to try and make them more of a priority. I never really had confidence in my artwork, and I'm just so self-conscious. But I was literally like, what would Angie do? I submitted a piece to be displayed as a window painting in New Haven, and they responded right away. They actually loved it. I haven't been accepted yet. The final vote is February 25th, and they asked me to incorporate the words New Haven, Connecticut. But damn, it felt good. Thank you for the courage. So I've been speechless since I've read that. I still haven't even been able to respond to her, because this is why we all do this. This is why we all, put ourselves out there and we dare to be different, so that other people can be different and other people can pursue their dreams. And before I get too emotional, I am going to move on, because today, in the very first episode, we're going to be talking about a topic that's very dear to my heart, and it's the secrets to successful business networking. For me, networking has changed everything. I found my mentors, I got brand deals, speaking engagements, all through networking. So today, if you are interested in finding out what the modern way of networking is, then you are going to want to talk to my friend Chris. I met Chris through this incredible networking organization. Now, I'm part of 7 or 8 organizations. I'm a serial networker, but this one was different. Chris makes a community out of what he has created. So let's check in with Chris. Chris Cianciulli, welcome to the Be Influential podcast. You are a new friend and now one of my network leaders. Thank you so much for joining the show. How are you today?
Thank you. I didn't know that this was the inaugural episode. So congratulations to that. And I'm honored that you asked me to be on. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. This show is all about innovation, and your vision is incredible. What you're doing in the networking industry is something that I personally haven't seen, but yearned for. By trade, I am a storyteller, and you dig really, really deep into your company, organization, community called Connexx. So we're going to get to Connexx, and you're definitely going to get a chance to speak about it. But, being influential is all about the journey. And I think that's the most important part. You're here in an incredible space with Connexx, but how did you get there? Where did you start? I know that you have a fitness background. You look like a fitness guy, right, ladies? He looks like a fitness guy. So I want to know a little bit about Chris. What got you here?
Well, funny you should ask me that, because the thing that I happen to know the most about is me. But before I talk about me, if I can just make a comment to that friend, Michelle, I think you said her name is, with New Haven. You said something about her needing a line or something about what came to me, and if I can just put it out there, Old Haven, New Haven, even better than before. That just stood out to me, and I wrote it down, jotted it on a note. Old Haven, New Haven, better than before as we come out of COVID. Just a thought. But myself, Connexx, maybe it's a stupid idea. It just came to me, and you know what? Take it for what it's worth. Doesn't cost anything, free advice. What brought me here is, well, I guess it will go all the way back to the fact that when it comes, you asked about networking, and I hear the word networking so often, and I don't like that word. I feel like networking almost cheapens the idea of what you're intending to do when you quote unquote network. I like to call it relationship building. And I think relationships are the most important thing that take place in the world, because anything that any person is going through at any point in their life, 9.5 times out of 10, there's someone else that's gone through it, experienced it, can help get you through it. It just takes asking. And so many people think asking is a sign of weakness, but I look at asking as a sign of strength. And I have done a lot of things, attempted a lot of things, accomplished a lot of things. And people always will ask me, how did you know how to do that? And I'll tell them I had no clue. I just started, and along the way, I asked people. And the surprising thing is, people who have accomplished something are more than happy to tell you how they got there. Just so many people in the world are too busy talking and forgetting to listen. And the only time you learn is when you listen. And it took me until I was 40 years old to realize that. I was told it my whole life. I only started taking advice and realizing it at 40.
The ask is so important. You are so 100% right, because people are out here wondering how people are getting brand deals and sponsorships. And a lot of times I'm just like, have you asked? Have you even tried to connect? And that's exactly what you're saying. It's about the relationship. People want to work with people. And it has nothing to do with followers. Everybody thinks they need a lot of followers in order to create opportunities, and that's just not the case. So I love what you have to say about that, and you're spot on. My listeners love it.
And so did you ask what got me here? I was so busy rambling, I forgot what you said. So you started in fitness. You know, you learned how to obviously create relationships in fitness. Well, no,
one-on-one with people.
No, it goes back. I was actually a theater major when I went to college, and that's how I know New Haven well, from Long Wharf Theater. I grew up outside of Hartford, Connecticut, then moved to Long Island when I was 18, and just happened to move back to Connecticut about 6 months ago. And after 23 years being in New York, I moved there intentionally. So are you saying something?
No, that was perfect. I love Connecticut. Everybody move to Connecticut and enjoy the pizza.
No, everyone don't move to Connecticut, because then you'll make it more popular and crowded. I left New York to have more space and not be as overcrowded. So I started in theater, and the idea was I loved performing. I love the idea of so many facets of production and performance. And that's what it was that I loved. I loved being part of something. I loved being part of a production. I loved the idea of starting with a script and then blocking it, or casting it and then blocking it, and then the whole production value. That to me was just like a high. And when I went off to college, end of my freshman year, and I had a theater scholarship. I applied to 17 schools because my guidance counselor, I wasn't exactly what one would consider a good student. When you tell your SATs to your friends and they say what part, and you're given the combined score, you know you didn't do well on that exam. So I got a 640. And when I told friends, they're like, what part? That was both. So I wasn't a great student. I had to rely on talent to get into any college. So my guidance counselor suggested I apply to 17 schools. And I remember it was $1,700 in whatever it's called, application fees. And this was back in the day when you had to like fill them out by hand. So that in itself was a lesson. And I found out, and I was diagnosed as learning disabled in third grade with ADD, ADHD, all those great things that things will stand in your way, or you'll be told you can't do things. And the one talent that I knew that I had was communication. I could walk into a group of strangers, and within 5 minutes, they would become friends. So that grabbed me. I realized what my talent was, not realizing it was a talent. And when I went to college, I realized that theater wasn't what I wanted to pursue for a profession. Very often you hear people say, follow your passion. That is the most incredibly wrong BS in the world. You should never follow your passion, because you might be passionate about something but not be very good at it. Case in point, when you used to watch American Idol, how many people were passionate and following their dreams? Unfortunately, their dream is someone else's nightmare. And if my children perform like some of the people first round, I would tell them, why don't we focus on something else? Like maybe the camera production and filming that people do American Idol. And ironically, I trained someone from American Idol, so I use that example. But I tell people, follow or pursue your talent. If your talent and your passion align, that's when it's meant to be. But someone could be passionate about cooking. So they say, I want to open a restaurant, except they have no idea how to run a business. And then all of a sudden, look what happens. They go out of business. Look at people who are outside Penn Station or used to be, or Grand Central, and they would be playing an instrument or singing, and they were phenomenal, except for the fact that they weren't able to make it a business. So they're talented, but the pursuit of their talent, that didn't align. They're talented. They didn't pursue it. Passion. So it's everything coming together. I found that my passion and my talent was communicating with people. And I just happened to choose fitness to be how I then went about it. I worked with people from the time of college. I opened my first gym at 22. I learned about getting a loan, finding out purchasing equipment, legal, all this stuff, incorporating a business. And I took on a business partner for a short period of time who then took thousands and thousands of dollars without me even knowing. And I learned a lesson: know the people you go into business with. And many lessons as I started pursuing business, but fitness in general. I thought I would be happy working with celebrities and professional athletes and all these things that you think you want when you're younger. And I realized what I loved about working with people was people. So at that point, I got into networking and joined a networking group actually, I'll rewind. I was doing as a trainer, I was working in my gym. At a certain point, the opportunity came about to merge my gym into a larger gym that had more potential to expand. I did with them, opened 5 gyms across Long Island, and then didn't want to be in the gym business, went into the one-on-one training studio. At that time, I had been scouted, seen, discovered by a couple celebrities, in which I started traveling with them. And when they were on tour, I would go to wherever. So I was going to 2 cities a week, flying everywhere in my mid-20s. And it was fun for about 6 months. And then it got boring and horrible. And I realized I didn't like working with celebrities because they are just people, except they're extremely cheap. And celebrities think everything should be free.
Glamorous. Yeah, it's not
they
so
think
glamorous.
It should be free. Exactly. And the hardest
they're
people
literally handed everything. And so then when you come around, they're just like, so I'm handed everything, right? Like, I'm sorry, your audience doesn't, like, I don't want your audience. You know what I mean? They're not coming to me to work out. Like, it doesn't work that way. Pay me. Cash,
yeah, and I got away from that whole that area, and I wanted to just get back to working. At one point, I had 11 people working for me. I wanted to go to just where it was me and the clients I was working with, because what I loved, some of my clients from the past are my closest friends, where we became so close in working together, helping them through different issues or things in life. And it just so happened many of my clients had businesses. And I don't mean like just a small mom and pop. Some of them had some really big publicly traded companies as businesses. And the education I was getting from those people, like, you can't buy it in a master's program or a doctoral program. Amazing. And that's when I got into the idea of quote unquote networking and really dove into it and saw the value. And I found what my talent was. I found my passion, and they just came together, and boom, here I am today.
I love it. We haven't gotten a chance to have our one-on-one, really. We when you first called me and I got introduced to you by somebody who's going to be joining the call a little bit later. But he's like, you got to meet this guy. And the same day, the same night you called me, and we had such a great conversation. But little did I know, we have a lot in common because I have a singing background, theater background, I love being on stage. And I was told in high school, especially being a a young Black woman, music production, and these types of jobs weren't for me. So they deterred me. And now I'm in a point where I'm like, I don't care anymore. I'm chasing my dreams. And here we are, studio setup, and I love that. It's all about actually chasing your dreams. And you're right about the passion part. I love chasing my passions, but if you don't have an expertise to back up that passion, like, you're not going to get anywhere. That's not it. That's not your life's calling. And you can have several life's callings, but you have to be really exceptional at what you do. So I completely agree with you. Great advice. People are in the comments talking about how great your advice is. So I really appreciate it. So keep going. So now, have we reached Connexx? Is this where the brainchild is born?
No, the brainchild is born. It's kind of like anyone that has any influence on change in the world that we live in has to see something they don't like, an injustice, something that they don't feel is I don't want to say fair, because I hate the word fair, and I hate when people think things are fair, because life's not. But if you see something you don't like that approach. So I belong to one of the big two networking, national, international networking groups that I joined in 2013. I was a trainer. A good friend of mine who's a chiropractor a block away from me in New York. We had some mutual patients, clients we would send back and forth to each other. And he said to me one day, hey, I belong to this networking organization. You can come check it out. You should come check it out. And I said, why would I need to do that? And he said, well, there's like 25, 30 people in this group. And instead of just me sending you business, you would know these others and they too would send you business. And I immediately went to the typical question everyone asks. Does it cost? What does it cost? Went right to cost, being a novice and not understanding. And he said, well, we'll get into that later. Come to a meeting. So I showed up at a diner like most of the networking organizations used to do pre-COVID, and showed up, and I was overwhelmed by like 30 plus people all in the back of a diner, like walking around, handing business cards. And this guy, Thiago, walked up to me. I still remember, he walked up, he said, I'm Thiago, New Way Masonry. What do you do? And he handed me a business card, like, boom, into my hand. And so it was like my first experience. What's your name? What do you do? And I told him, signed in, and then you sit down and do your wonderful breakfast in which everyone in the room is concerned about their breakfast order and yada, 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 30-second commercials, blah, 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 blah. And then someone came over and said, what do you think? I said, it was very interesting. And I had gone to the other organizations groups with a business that I was consulting for. So I was aware of the drill. And there was something about this group. There was a guy, Todd Kagan, and he was the president and a fellow Connexx member. He was so phenomenal in the front of the room. And as I watched him, it wasn't the group so much, like they were a average networking group, but Todd really spoke to me, and just seeing how he entertained the room, how he was so much energy, he inspired the hell out of me that day. And I thought to myself, I want to do that. That's what I want to be doing. So sure enough, 3 years later, the time was right. And I then became president of that group. And at the time there were 17 people in it. And in just under 3 years, we grew it to 83 people. So I won in 2017 President of the Year for the organization, and that was out of 325 chapters. And we're the fastest growing chapter in the country. And it went from being in the back of a diner to being in one of the most exclusive or prestigious addresses for business called RXR Plaza on Long Island. And I went and negotiated a deal with the leasing company to get the cafeteria because there's 2,000 businesses overhead. So I wanted to find where all the business was and then start having our meeting in the cafeteria where everyone went for breakfast, because then they would be forced to see us and be like, what's that? So it was almost like fishing in a very small barrel and with a lot of fish. And it was turned out to be a smart idea, and I ran it like a business, and I took it very serious. I took a pay cut in what I was earning from my training business to allocate more time to run it like it was my job. People assumed I got paid from the organization, didn't get free dues, nothing. And as I was a part of it and grew it, I did some of the things that I wanted to do, or us as a board of directors, because there's boards in these kind of groups, wanted to do. And we did some fundraising, raised money, and one of our meetings, we raffled off $5,000 cash, in which it went to a single mom of 3 who wrote me an email saying she's had to stop paying her mortgage for the last 3 years around Christmas time because she can't afford holiday gifts. But this was the first year by winning, she'd have to stop paying her mortgage. And when I saw that it was able to make a difference in someone's life, not just for business, but to do something good for someone and see how much they appreciate it, I said, I 100% want to start my own organization, because there were things I didn't like about traditional networking. And I'll get to that in a second. And then that same year, after giving away $5,000, we had, because it's a nonprofit and you have to use up the money for the club and blah, 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 we had like $5,000 left over. So I went out, priced out with one of our members, and we chartered a yacht. So it's $4,800. We had our members and guests, one guest, go out around Long Island on a yacht for 4 hours. And when we came into dock, a couple of people were complaining that it was December 6th. And it was very cold, and the inside fogged up, so you couldn't see out of like the area where we were all eating our sit-down dinner. You couldn't see out the window. And I had people complaining to me, asking, saying that it was okay. We should have just stayed wherever. We could have gone anywhere. We shouldn't have gone on a boat. And just hearing like how much effort and work went into doing something to try to bring everyone together to be happy. And I realized it was the culture. And it wasn't the culture of just what was created. It was the fact of, through an organization that's based or very corporate, it almost like leaked into something. Just told me the time was right. And when the time was right, I had this idea. I want to do this thing called Connexx. And my concept was this: I want to bring people together, but see the person and not their profession. Because when you walk into any networking organization, the first thing they ask you is, what's your name? What do you do? I have a video up, if it's still up, that's me with a tie on and just a jacket. And the tie with no dress shirt is my way of mocking like networking group. You bring your tie, you have your business cards. Hi, what's your name? What do you do? I compare that. If I were dating, if my wife allowed me and had an open mind, if I were out dating and I walked up to a girl in a bar, in a club, and I said, hi, how are you? I'm Chris. And if she said, what do you do? Immediately, I know that she is deciding how much respect to give me based on my profession. I said, I'm a dog walker. I clean toilets. I'm this. Is she going to give me more respect than if I say I work with high net worth individuals as a CPA? So yeah, I hated the fact you have an unconscious bias in which you're going to judge people based on your previous experiences of that profession. So if every life insurance person I know is trying to review my policy and asking if he can give me advice, I don't want to be friends with him if I know right off the bat what he does, because I know in time he's going to say, can I review your policy? I didn't like that. I didn't like how you voted people in. To me, to judge people right off the bat, it's a popularity contest. Networking isn't finding we're the best of the best. No, you're not. You're the best of who got there first to take up that category. And I'm not saying all the time, but if someone has that much availability, or if they can walk right into it and claim it, it means that they have that availability. Whereas I found, instead of telling people you have to do it now or you're going to lose it, open it to everyone. If you believe in like a free market and you believe that the best or the cream will rise to the top, who cares if you have 4 or 5 people in a group that do the same thing? The person that gets to know more people is going to have more success. Like Angie, if I said people do business with who, what would you say?
People do business with people. Period.
And who they what? They.
Oh, and with who they like, who they want to do business with, and who they like, and who they resonate with,
or trust. People do business with who they like and trust. Yeah. So, wake up call. If people aren't doing business with you, they either don't or you. They don't like or trust you. You don't just walk up and hand a business card. Hi, I'm an accountant. I've been looking for an accountant. Here's all my financial documents and go. That doesn't happen. So when you belong to something where that's almost, you have to pass a piece of business every week. Otherwise, you can't do this, or there's a penalty. If you miss, then you don't get to speak next week. You're taking type A personalities who own their own businesses that don't conform to other standards to work for someone, and then you're trying to put them into a cage, and then you're giving them rules to tell them, oh, shame on you. You were 15 minutes late. Now screw that. So I wanted to come up with something that was seeing people as people, throwing the rules out the window, and instead of having a group, form a community. And I say community because community comes down to values. It comes down, like, have you ever heard the expression, your network is your net worth?
Oh, God, over
BS.
And over, but it's
so wrong. Whoever says that, just so you know, whoever says it out there, you're wrong. Who's in your network is your net worth. Who's in your network? If you have 10 people that are unemployed that are in a bar at 11 o'clock in the morning, and that's your network, I can guarantee you will not be successful hanging around those people.
But you have to find those people. And like everything else, it's the 80-20 rule. You know what I mean? 20% of those people are going to be a really great connection.
Wrong. You don't find them, they will find you. Because when people see talent, they want to be around it. If someone thinks that you can offer something to make them or their circle better, they're going to want you, because like attracts like. If you see people that are successful and you say, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so, you don't think successful people get approached all the time by tons of people who are going to save them so much money and help them so much. They don't need your help. They're already successful. So that's what people don't realize. And another point to that, because to start a group, there are so many groups out there. I learned once I started diving into the networking world, you have really 4 different kinds of groups. Like, that's how I look at it. You have your open groups where it's free. Anyone can go. Tell a friend, come on in. Then you have your paid networks or your closed networks. You also have your third-party organizations like charitable organizations or being on a board of directors somewhere. And then you have social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Clubhouse, any of those. So of those 4 areas of networking, so often people will say, well, you have to pay for that one. Like my first question, how much does it cost? So many people think, nah, I'm not going to go to those. Think of this. Who are you surrounding yourself with? If you're only willing to go to events with people that are only willing to go if it's free, wait till you try to sell them a service or a product. Because if they're too cheap to join a group, they're going to be too cheap to buy your product or a service. So the idea is you want to pre-qualify. Like, let's look at relationships. If I walked up to a girl in a bar and she asked what I do, let's go a step further. Let's say I went on a dating app. Let's say I was looking at Tinder or OkCupid or Meet Me or eHarmony. If I looked at dating apps, if I say Tinder, everyone's like, I know why you go to Tinder. If I say that free networking groups are like Tinder, everyone's looking to get something from you. People like look at me and they go, okay, go on. And if I say OkCupid closes, more relationships or marriage ends from more. Why is that? Well, or look at Tinder. Tinder used to be free. It still is free, but they also have a paid side where it's $10 a month for those that are under 30, or it's $20 or something a month. I don't know because I'm not on it. My wife won't let me. Those people are paying $20 a month. So why would someone sign up for $20 a month? The people who are looking for something more serious, like a meaningful relationship, they know that you're not paying for the relationship. Anyone willing to pay for a relationship would pay for a 30-hour block if you know what I'm getting at. So if someone is looking for a long-term relationship like marriage, they're willing to pay. Why? For the same reason people join country clubs. It's not to play golf. People want to be around successful people. So people will join mastermind groups for $25,000, $50,000 a year. You don't do that, whoever you are I'm talking to. Does that mean they're a sucker? Look at them. I'm getting mine for free. No. Do you know the people that are in a room where you're paying $50,000 a year? Because my partner belongs to one. I can tell you who's in those rooms because, like I said to you, people who are successful, if they see that in you, they will seek you out because they want to help you, share with you. Those that can't do teach. Those that have done have earned the right to teach. So anyone who is a teacher or an expert, I always look at the resume. If someone's a social media expert and they have 250 followers, or they put a comment up and it has like 9 likes, I'm not that impressed. Whereas there's a girl, Autumn Storm, who I've known for years in the networking world. She could put a comment up. There's 300 responses, and not even just likes, but like, that's a serious person who has influence. If she said, I can help your brand, I would say, let's talk, because I'm seeing it. She's done it. But there's so many people that are claiming to be experts and then jump into the networking world, and it's oversaturated. And people like Gary Vee are awesome. Someone I got into like 6 years ago. The one thing is, it's almost a lot of people have been wound up and sent out, and everyone wants to teach someone how to do something. Yet those people teaching, I don't think, have quite mastered it in some areas. So networking is just about relationships. Don't be sold. Just get to know people as people.
I love it. And that is, I love Chris because he's so authentic. He really speaks from his heart, you guys. I know you feel it. I love that, he is different. He is the definition of being influential when you step outside the box and do what the naysayers say that you can't do. It's really, really powerful, and I respect everything. Even when you don't always agree, you have to respect that passion and that vision. So that being said, we have a couple more people to join the conversation and really heat this bad boy up. So we are bringing to the stage Mr. 31 Rob. What's going on, homie?
The venerable Miss Angie Legg. What's going on? And my brother Chris.
I love it. The Connexx family is in the house. Rob, 1031 Rob. What a great brand name. We met networking, literally. So it's the perfect show for you to be on today. I'm going to give you a moment to introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are and why you're influential.
Absolutely. And thank you again, Angie, for having me. It's an honor to be here on the podcast. So 1031 Rob here. Your name can start with a number. It's legal. People can do it. And I wasn't always 1031 Rob, as Angie had populated on the bottom. Half a life ago, I was a United States Air Force Academy cadet. I had aspirations to become a military aviator, drop bombs on the enemy abroad in an F-117 stealth fighter. For medical reasons, it didn't pan out for me. But here I am half a life later, and I'm helping people domestically in a different way in the real estate world with 1031 transactions. So it's kind of funny. People ask me all the time, if you had a crystal ball and you knew how it was going to pan out with the military and so forth, would you have gone the same route? And I always say absolutely, because what I realized today, and running my own practice as 1031 Rob and this brand that I've created just a little over 2 years ago when my first daughter was born, is that I've ported so many valuable things from that experience, things that you can't buy, right? You could buy products, services, you could buy a degree online, but the discipline that I've ported, the honor code that I lived by half a life ago, we will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate amongst anyone who does. That's how I run my practice. That's how I run my personal life. And I try to be the antithesis of some of these groups that I've been part of in the past. I'm a straight shooter. I'm an ex-military guy, and that's how I want to run my practice, and that's what I want my girls to see as they grow up. So that's where I'm at. So even though, it didn't work out, maybe it's safer, but I'm still helping America in a different way.
You absolutely are. And, the genii behind 1031 is I was scrolling through my stories, my IG stories, and one of my realtor friends, a longtime friend actually, was just like, I'm doing a 1031 transaction. I still don't know what it is, but that was enough information that I needed to refer my good friend Rob, and it is genius. I love it. You are the best. And we are going to have another guest joining in just a minute. I think he hopped off, but it's all good. So everybody, audience, we are part of the Connexx community. We are all part of it, and we all take place. So I know that my personal experience, I've been with Connexx for about maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and everybody, like Chris was saying, everybody is warm, everybody is welcoming, and not overwhelming. I definitely was able to book so many incredible conversations, and that's what they are. I wasn't booking appointments, I was booking conversations. And just recently, one of the women I was talking to, me and her son have the same birthday, month, day, and year. Month, day, and year. Like these are the types of people that we're connecting with. These are the types of conversations that we're having. And I'll never forget that. Like, I won't forget that ever. And that is so powerful. And, there is a big difference between paid and free networking groups, and that is part of the big difference. Rob, you've been in a lot of networking groups. You're president of a BNI group. What's your experience in the traditional networking versus, what we're doing now with Connexx?
Yeah, you bet. So the first thing that struck me about Connexx is, it came at a time where I realized I was telling my story more and the inner workings about what these products are that I sell less. Telling more about my background and about how I got there and how I've ported these things over. And Connexx, within 3 minutes of being on that first call, Chris will remember I was masked up because I had to go into the city from Staten Island. Within 3 minutes, I realized that I was in the right group of people. I came at a time when I was welcoming a new group. Yes, I'm a BNI president. Yes, I'm in other things. Yes, some of them are paid and some of them are unpaid. But what I was looking for was like-minded individuals that led with the relationship first. And I found that in 3 minutes. I realized right away that that was for me. And they were leading with these meaningful relationships instead of like what Chris had on his LinkedIn recently with the tie, right? Here's my hand and here's my business card. That will work sometimes, but people don't like that generally. And I think a lot of these groups do lead with that, and they kind of model that. Connexx is completely the opposite. It's leading with the relationship first and the business will follow. How do I know that's the case? Well, by the way, I haven't been in Connexx very long, maybe a little over a month now. And this morning I woke up to a text at 5:45, and it was from a Connexx member that had a referral for me that I spoke to one time. We had a great conversation. We didn't even talk about what I do, but he had a referral. So it absolutely works. But more importantly, we have fun doing it every time we show up to those meetings. And that's really what I wanted out of the group. I wasn't like, oh, I need X amount of business from this in a certain amount of time. No, that model doesn't work. I want to enjoy the people I'm with. I want to have meaningful conversations, and that business surely follows. And I don't want to worry about it. I just want to have a good time doing it.
Angie, if I can add to that,
Sure, go ahead. I want to bring Marc Lawrence up, so.
Well, I'll be fast, but since it's Marc, I'll give a good explanation. Take a long time. Like Rob, or even with what you just said, we can relate to each other so much more as people than we can as professionals. What are you, Angie, going to tell me about a 1031 exchange? And do you really care to know about it unless you need to utilize it because you sold a piece of real estate? That's the only time you need to know about a 1031. Whereas Rob, we both have 2 daughters. We're both the same age. We're both stunningly good looking with great heads of hair. Like, we have these things in common, and that's how we relate to as people. So then once it comes down to us being friends, if I hear of anyone selling a piece of property, I'm immediately going to think of Rob because that's my buddy. So it's looking out for a friend. You don't look out for people in your networking group. And if I were to say to my wife, honey, why settle down and be in one group? I network a lot. I date a lot. I play the field. The second a girl hears I play the field, you can't commit to anyone. And when you commit to one group or one community, that community will want to support you. But if they know that you're out philandering with other groups and you belong to a million things and you're only looking out for yourself, they're not going to want you in their community. So when you have that allegiance, and I'm not saying paid, unpaid, it's a matter of the money, but entrepreneurs are structured. They have their to-do list. They have their rituals. They have all these things. But then when it comes to networking, they just throw stuff up against the wall, go into a free group, meet 100 people, and there's no structure. If you're a structured entrepreneur, you should be in a structured group that lays out a recipe for success that all you have to do is follow, because high tides, all ships rise. And that's what we do in Connexx. Very, very different.
I love it. So you guys, I mean, he's dead right. It is about the relationships, and it's perfect name. It's about the connections that we're making. You do business with the people that you like and you trust. And I just love the passion behind it. And right now we have one more commentator coming in, Mr. Marc Lawrence. How's it going, Marc? Listen, ladies, am I a lucky girl over here? Take a look. They're all taken, though, girls. They're all taken. Mr. Marc Lawrence, how are you today? Welcome to the Be Influential podcast. It is the first episode. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Angie. I'm honored to be here.
Where are you calling in from?
Long Island.
Oh, Long Island. Okay. You know, me and Chris were talking about being out here in Connecticut. He was fighting me on the pizza like y'all do, but that's okay. I still love you all the same. Marc, you're in New York. Tell me a little bit about you. What's going on? What makes you influential? Tell the audience.
I don't think of myself as influential. I think that's what probably makes me influential. I just think of myself as just a regular guy like everybody else, a friendly guy, an honest guy, and somebody who doesn't, think about what I can get out of a situation. I fortunately have a little better hair than Chris, and not as good as Rob, and definitely not as good as Angie. But I'm also the old guy here, so.
The wise. Now, people, don't let Marc Lawrence fool you. In the 4 weeks that I've been part of this group, I have seen this man pull out some of the most influential, game-changing humans that I've ever met in my life. The story that I just told you about the woman whose son has my exact birthday, that's a Marc Lawrence person, you know. Every person that I speak to, I'm like, who do you know? They're like, Marc Lawrence. People in Utah. I met a real estate agent from Utah, and they know each other, you guys. Like, he does not play around. So, Marc, what is your perspective on the networking climate right now? I mean, we're going virtual. Chris was supposed to be here, but because of the snow, he hopped online. Like, do you think that this is the future period, or should we have a balance of both?
I've been involved in networking for a long time because I'm old, but and traditionally that was going to, when did 50 become old? But 51. So I was going to a lot of meetings and meeting, a lot of people in person. And I was one of the, I don't think they wanted to let me into a networking group because I was one of those guys that was in 8 groups and spreading myself way too far. But, the key thing, I think, even when I was doing that was, I wasn't necessarily doing it just, to build my own business. I was doing it, really because I wanted to meet people. And I think on my Clubhouse, I was just looking, I said, if you want more business, get more friends. And you were talking earlier on, in your broadcast at the beginning with Chris about, anybody can get followers and grow your followers. And I think we live in a culture now where, how many followers do you have on Instagram? And actually, I think I have to change my LinkedIn because I say I have 13,000 followers. But so it's not really about what I've learned. It's not about the number of followers that you have. It's about the number of friends. And even on LinkedIn, when somebody connects to me now, and that's a lot of people during the day, I actually will send an email. Thanks for connecting to me. We should connect in reality. So I'm trying to have a conversation now, and get to know people, not just collect numbers. It's not about collecting numbers and having, tons of followers. It's about actually making a real connection and then listening to what, who they are, what they do. As Chris had just said, him and Rob both have 2 daughters. I have a daughter. These are things that are common bonds between people, and finding those bonds. And, I joined Connexx, as I said at the beginning. I live on Long Island now, and, which was a change for me. I spent most of my adult life in Manhattan. I ended up joining Connexx. Why? because I wanted to meet more people on Long Island. Not because necessarily I wanted to get more business on Long Island. I wanted to make more friends on Long Island. I wanted to make, and in a day and age where you can't meet them in person, Connexx and Chris really provided a platform for me, to meet and make a lot of new friends, amazingly, locked in my home here in the last 6 months. People that, I feel like I know them intimately and I've never met them in person. And that's amazing. And, Chris could tell you his business partner, they've never met in person in Connexx. And that's an amazing story. I think that's so to your original question. I think that the world is definitely in transition. I think you have to basically embrace some of the technology and some of, where we are right now, because going forward, I think this is going to be a part of the world that we live in, and you're going to have to utilize it.
Oh, Rob, do you want to go before me? I want to say something about Marc, but Rob, you had your hand up first. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me go first because I just want to piggyback on something Marc said. So yeah, it's very true what he said. Like, I don't need a million followers, but I do need more champions of my brand. And how do you get that? Exactly like Chris said. You get people to like and trust and respect you, and you start that with the relationship. And that's what Connexx does. And that's the difference right there. And you tell your story. And like for me, it's leveraging my military background and shooting it straight, being a good dude, right? People that know me know that I will help no matter what. Even if you don't need me, even if I disqualify myself early on, I will leverage my network and help in any way I can. I'm just wired that way. Do that with good people and see what magic happens.
And I wanted to say that about, great point. So Connexx is now, I think we're over 150 people in just a year and a half. And of that 150 people, each week we have 3 meetings. Each meeting we allow for 20 guests to come on. And like twice this week, we had 20 guests register ahead of time. Of those 20, I would say it's always 17 or 18 of those guests were referred by Marc Lawrence. I've never met a better networker than Marc Lawrence in my life. And the truth to why Marc is so incredibly great at networking is because he's a great friend. It's not that he has a system where he follows these steps, how to network, because the truth is the difference between a salesperson and a con artist is the belief in what they're selling. And when Marc doesn't sell Connexx, he tells people, he doesn't sell. Hey, do you want to meet a bunch of like-minded people who you'll have a lot in common with? Because we come together as people who have gone through divorces, who have gone through addiction, who have gone through anything, but we followed a system to get out of it. I get a kick out of people. I myself had a history with drugs and almost 13 years ago this month. So it's something behind me. But I remember in trying to get clean, how many around me were also trying to get clean. And when I would say to people, oh, are you going to a program? AA, NA, are you going to one of those? Nah, those programs, I don't want to be part. I can do it on my own. Or people go to college. Oh, are you part of fraternity? No, I don't need to pay for friends. Talk to anyone who has success from addiction. Talk to anyone about college. What was the best moments? Oh, my fraternity. So people will try to tell themselves. They're not telling you, oh, I don't need to pay for friends. They're telling themselves that, because the truth of the matter is they don't know what they're missing. Those of us who have gone through these things know the difference between just getting it for nothing and paying. Doesn't make it better. It eliminates the takers. At Connexx, we're farmers. We're not hunters. A hunter goes to a free group and looks for who they can pick off, who they can get business from, who they're going to set a one-on-one up with because they want to meet them. Why? They're hunters. They're going to shoot and kill you. Beware. Connexx is farmers. We plant seeds. By planting seeds, which are the relationships, a piece of business might not come out by the end of that 30-minute call. It might not come out in a month. But isn't it amazing in 3, 4, 5, 6 months when your phone starts ringing off the hook because you've been nurturing and caring for the seeds, sunlight, water, you're caring for those relationships and connections, and then you have a harvest. Instead of eating for one meal, you have a whole season. And that's the difference with the community. We're feeding the community for a season, not for a meal.
I love it. Spread those seedlings everywhere. Everyone out there is growing strong like a weed. Preach it, baby. Preach it. And so
I love Rob. Look at that face.
Are
How can you not love
like,
that?
networking royalty in my eyes. And so for my audience, I really want to provide a lot of value for them. And I want to take some of your expertise and answer a few questions. So Rob, how long would you say you've been networking?
I've been networking actively since 2016.
Okay, perfect. And so, same about me. I'm relatively new to it. I think for me, a lot of people see how I act, see my confidence, and then assume that I'm an extrovert. But actually, I'm very much an introvert, and it shocks people. And I think introverts have networking wrong in their head. Are you an introvert or are you an extrovert, and how do you handle networking in that form?
This is still at me, right?
Yeah, yep.
I think I might be both, because going back like 6-7 years, I wouldn't be caught dead running a BNI meeting or being in something like this. It would scare the hell out of me. Now it's like second nature, and I actually enjoy doing it. So yeah, I think I was an extrovert. I think now I'm more of an extrovert, but I may be both at heart. I don't know.
Do you think networking helped you kind of get out of your shell?
Definitely, 100%, 100%. Because there was a point in time where before my BNI days, I only knew BNI in the sense of being a sub or being a guest, and I was petrified every time I went, and I didn't like it. And now it's like, now I run a group and I'm part of Connexx, and I love being part of that group. And yeah, it's just you definitely build upon it, you get better, and when you have more roles that expose you to leadership positions like a presidency or something like that, even better. It even accelerates it that much more.
I love it. And Marc, what does, networking burnout look like? Because I can quickly, because I'm an introvert, what makes me an introvert is that when I'm in groups, I get depleted, where extroverts get into groups and they recharge. So I feel the burnout. I do understand the burnout. I'm having trouble with it personally myself. And I've done things to try and control my calendar a little bit more. But what does burnout look like? How did you solve your burnout? What did you do in that situation?
I've never had burnout, and I don't consider myself an extrovert, amazingly, with the amount of people that I know. I'm just a friendly person, and I like meeting people, and I've built a career and job. I guess I'm kind of like the old farmer. I've been planting seeds for a long time, so I don't burn out on it, because I just enjoy meeting new people, and that re-energizes me, really. And I think you have to take it at your own pace. I think people have different appetites for it. I have a big appetite. Maybe that's why I need to lose some weight. I have a big appetite for meeting people, and for and again, with Chris, as Chris said, the term networking, I definitely have moved. I'm trying to move away because of the negative connotation from the term networking. Chris said relationship building, and I think he's spot on with that. And friendship building, to me, I think that's the next step of relationship building, is to take it to the level where you actually know somebody, know stuff about them, you care about them, and so that's how I've kind of balanced it. And that's basically my job. My real job is I'm in the real estate title insurance business. So similar to Rob, I'm in the real estate world. I was an attorney, hated being an attorney. I'm not adversarial. I was a litigator. I like to say I'm a lover, not a fighter. So I'm a lover and a farmer. I think that's what I discovered about myself.
I love it. Now, Chris,
I was going to solve your burnout problem. I wanted to tell you your burnout, because I have the solution in one sentence or two sentences.
Give it to me.
If you take a beautiful flower and you plant it in a field with dead grass all around, the flower is going to die. So it's not anything you're doing. You're surrounding yourself by people that are leeching or trying to take from you. And if you're only meeting with people that are taking, if it rains too much, if it doesn't rain, or if you draw water from a well, eventually, if it doesn't rain, it dries out. You're burning out because you're drying out because people are reaching to you, or you're giving so much of yourself out. Instead of trying to look to take back, just rest. You can sharpen your axe, stop chopping away. You'll cut down more trees by taking 15 minutes off every hour to sharpen your axe than trying to go nonstop chopping down trees, because eventually you're going to get tired, burn out, and stop. So stop chopping, give it time, let some of the seeds that you've planted, Angie, call back, reach out to you. If they don't reach out to you, those aren't friends, those are users, and they will suck the life out of all of your efforts. And you need to focus some of your time on your business, because again, so many friggin' people are all about networking. And then it's like, eventually we get to, hey, what do you do? And it's so vague what they do that I don't even know how I can help them. And I'll say, how can I help you? Like, I don't know what you do. So I think people need to keep in mind, network, build relationships, but have an end game of something to tell people of what you do, and have a business. Don't just network to be popular. There's a difference.
Absolutely. And, I think what we have a few minutes left, and what I really, really want to touch on that I think everybody, the elephant in the room is COVID and what it's done to the virtual world. I believe it's made it a lot better, a lot more accessible. But I know a lot of people want to get back to regular networking. So I want to hear everybody's, vision on what networking looks like for the rest of 2021 and 2022 realistically. Rob, what do you think is going to happen for this year, next year?
I mean, I definitely think the Zoom and the virtual is here to stay. We're going to have to live in these boxes for a little longer, but you always got to find the silver lining, right? I'm a Staten Island guy, you guys know. So I eliminate a bus, a boat, a train. I'm able to do a lot more of these in a day, so I'm more efficient. I crave the in-person. I love having the lunches and doing the coffees in person. I'm an in-person type, but we have to have this for now, and it's our new reality, so we'll ride it out. And when we can go back to the old way, we will.
Marc, do you miss being in person? Like, are you dying to be in person, or are you sitting pretty at home on your couch?
It's funny. I spent a good 20 years running around all day long, multiple groups and multiple organizations, and being in front of people. So do I miss that? In some ways, but I'll tell you, I've gotten very comfortable growing relationships, meeting new people. Actually, I think I've created an efficiency of scale by sitting here and making initial connections, and I think I'm only going to further them when I can actually meet the person in person. So I look forward to that coming back. But I don't think honestly, I'm not going to go back to, what my life was in terms of running around and meeting a lot of people in person. I will do it selectively. I think, that in-person element will be the icing on the cake. But my cake now is because of COVID, is, through the internet and through Zoom and video conference and things like this.
I love it. And Chris, you and your partner, Darren, have literally not even ever met. So I'm dying to hear how that story's going. Do you guys plan to meet? And again, what do you think the future of networking is for us?
I would say it's going to be a hybrid model. I think technology has eliminated the need for geography. You don't need to be bound by the limits of your diner or your town to get together in person to get the word out to what you do or build your brand. We have members of Connexx in California, Arizona, North Carolina, Florida, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Like, that wouldn't have happened if we stayed in person. We would be in two locations, still Belmore, New York, and Melville, New York. So Belmore and Melville. There's so much more potential out there. And that's what I find very exciting. But I think there's a hybrid to where once you've been connecting or communicating with people, and we're going to have an announcement next month to something where we're upping the ante. The great thing is when you're a huge group, like you guys said, BNI, that's like a cruise ship. That takes time to turn. Connexx is a speedboat. We only have 150 people right now. We can make changes way faster than the big ones can. And we've got a big announcement coming next week. Sean and I are announcing something. And you said one partner, my two partners, Darren and Sean Rosenfeld, Sean Little Guy Rosenfeld, who I couldn't do any of this without. But I truly can say that I love Sean and I'm getting to love Darren. I met him. This is a guy who, like I told you, talent will seek out when they see talent, which he sees the group as talent. Darren's a guy who made it In 10 years in the telecom industry, he built up a company off a $100,000 investment and sold it for $40 million 10 years later, and was offered $48 million, in which he found out they were going to lay off or streamline like 58 employees. He turned them down. They came back 3 months later and said, why won't you sell? He said, I promised my people that they would have job security. If you're going to lay them off, I'm not selling to you. He gave up $8 million for his employees. The second I learned that about him, I said, Darren, not only do I want to be partners, I want you to be the CEO of this company because you understand culture. And Darren's whole business was about the culture of the people and treating them with respect. And the fact that he saw his employees and he based his success on that, I said he gets Connexx because he did Connexx in the telecom world. We came together, then Sean, and I think Marc, there might be some news or something coming very soon because, as I said, he's the most amazing networker I've ever met. And I don't believe in when you're a group, you should take advantage of people, and to have many people run the groups for you. That's not my philosophy. That's others. To me, we're building this together, and there is opportunities for anyone out there that has a network that wants to be part of something, a movement. We believe the bigger your community, the greater your opportunity. So if you're out there and you have a network of people, if you're influential, if you have a business, if you're a good person who looks out for others, we want to meet you because we're all going to grow together with Connexx. It's not one person at the top, it's all of us in community. So the future, big, the future, Connexx. It's the future networking. The others are into networking. Connexx is the network.
As Chris often says too.
Connexx in the house. I absolutely love it. You guys are bomb.com. I know my audience loves you. People have been in and out of this interview all the whole entire time. So thank you everybody for stopping in. Fellas, where can we find you? Chris, where can we find you in Connexx?
GetConnexx.com, because if you come to one Connexx meeting, you either get it or you don't. And if you get it, we want to get you. And when I met Rob, 30 seconds in, I sent him in the message, you're a Connexx member, you're joining, not taking no for an answer. He joined a week later.
I remember my fingers were freezing, but I still typed back.
I love it. I love it. Rob, where can we, 1031 Rob, where can we find you?
Yeah, so real simple. I cannot hide. If you Google 1031 Rob, I come right at the top of Google. Has all my information. 1031rob.com has all my backstory and all my other good stuff.
I love it. Mr. Marc Lawrence, where can we stalk you?
You can find me everywhere.
Yes, that's what I love. International, baby.
Social media, Marc Lawrence Biz on Instagram, LinkedIn. That's my bread and butter. Connect to me on LinkedIn. I love, meeting people that way. That's really the best way.
I love it. I love it. You guys, thank you so, so much for your expertise, because I do consider you guys experts in your fields and in your knowledge. So I want to thank you for joining me on my very first episode of the Be Influential podcast, where we dare you to be different. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode where we discuss the secrets to successful business networking. Go check us all out and follow us, and I'll see you next Friday at 11 a.m. Peace.
That bitch, big bang, that's a combo. Shutting